The number two reason of why I don't think people should be opening a second location is it is a distraction. And it didn't run the same, not because we didn't care, not because we didn't try. We just didn't know how to do it until I have maximized everything I can possibly do at my gym. And I can't really do anymore. They don't need me. That's when I can start looking at other opportunities and other new things to start. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are going to be talking about why I would not open a second location and what circumstances would make it so I would. Now, before we get into the episode, please make sure you are in our Facebook groups. That is Cheer Gym Owners on Facebook if you're a gym owner, and All-Star Cheer Coaches and Owners on Facebook if you are a coach or a coach and owner. Also, make sure you are checking out the podcast on YouTube and subscribed to Fireside Chat, where Danielle and Justin have discussions on all of the things affecting them in their business and give advice from their years running their gym together. You can also head on over to nextgenowners.com to learn more about how to join the Academy. I'm going to ask you, if you're listening to this and you are not a member of the Academy, to consider joining this year. Our Academy members across the board had one of the best years ever in 2024, and I want you to join us on that journey. We have coaches who are here to help you grow your gym. So whether you are a gym owner listening to this, or you're a coach, or even if you're a parent of a gym that you think the gym owner could benefit from it, share that information with them. We are here to help. We believe in creating great gyms and growing the sport across the country through each gym we work with, and through Canada too, because we have a bunch of awesome Canadian Next Gen members as well. All right, so getting into the episode. So this has been one that I've been thinking about for a while. It's come up a couple different times with some coaching clients. I have one client who has opened a second location and is working through that process. I have another client who was considering it. I see this talked about all the time on Facebook, where people are like, hey, if you were to open a second location. And it comes up all the time with my staff. They're always like, oh, you should open another gym. Dan, Tori, you guys should open another gym. And I generally respond, no, thank you. And I want to give a little bit more reasoning as to why, if you're sitting there thinking, should I open another gym, why I would suggest you don't. There's a number of good reasons. So getting right into it. Number one, it is most likely that your business is not in a position where it makes sense to open another location, meaning you have not built out the systems and structures and team to make it so when you open this other location, it is like opening your gym just in another city. What oftentimes happens is people open a second location and they put their name on the wall, and then they expect it to be the same thing without the same personnel. And if you don't have things systemized and you don't have the same owner who's actively involved in both locations, you're going to have a massive discrepancy in deliverable. And I say all of this because I did it. So quick story. When Tori and I were in our second year of owning our gym, we had the opportunity that we thought was huge opportunity. We had to do it, to open a gym in Eugene. Eugene is about 100 miles south of us. It is where I started coaching. So when I started coaching in college, I was coaching in Eugene. And the gym that I coached at sold to some parents a few years after I left that gym. And not because I left, they moved. So they sold to a group of parents, and then they had run it for a little while and they had decided to close. They decided that they didn't want to run the gym anymore and they were closing, which left a vacuum. And I was like, man, opportunity. There used to be cheer there. So there is already a demographic and there's going to be a vacuum, and we can go down there and we can run cheer. And so we did. We opened a location. We had tryouts. We had 45-ish kids in our initial season, 2 locations. Great, right? Oh man, it was awful. You guys, like, if you are listening to this, and even if you are listening to this and you were a parent in that program, truly appreciate you through those years. It didn't run the same. And it didn't run the same, not because we didn't care, not because we didn't try. We just didn't know how to do it. We didn't know how to run ODT without Tori and I being there, and really Tori more than anyone. So when you take that out of the mix, it makes things really hard. So we're open for 6 months, and then suddenly Tori and I are driving down, each of us once a week, to make sure that we're ensuring quality. Like, we had no systems in place. So there was nothing to set up where it was a plug and play. If you're going to open a second location, and it's going to truly be a second location, you want to be able to have it be just like if a McDonald's opened in your city, you're going to get McDonald's. It's going to be the same thing. You're not going to have a different experience at each one. Or a better example, people who do really well at this, is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A makes sure that every location gives the same quality experience all the way down to the customer service. And they're very, very stringent on that. And they have all of the systems and the training and the management and all of those things in place to ensure that that happens. So if you have not done that, and if your gym, if you as an owner are not capable of leaving your gym for 2 to 3 months and not being involved at all, and your gym running, and not only running, but continuing to grow, I would say that you're not actually at a point where you should consider opening a second location, unless a couple circumstances exist, which I will discuss at the end. Okay, so in general, I would say no. The number 2 reason of why I don't think people should be opening a second location is it is a distraction. You are going to have to put a lot of time and energy and effort into growing this second location. I know we did, and it was a distraction, and it slowed us down at our core location, which is where we lived. And where you live is going to be your core location. You are most likely not going to have a core location that is an hour and a half away from you. That just doesn't make sense. So you want to have that be where you live. So I think it is a distraction because it's going to take away your time and energy. And when you distract yourself, you only have so much bandwidth, right? You only have so much time in the day. And so by opening this second location, you're going to be taking up some of that bandwidth and requiring you to do things that don't grow your core location or your first location or whatever, however you want to talk about it, but it's not going to be growing that location. And it is a distraction. It's pulling you away from the thing that initially got you started on this journey. And so I don't believe that that is a good use of your time. I also think it could end up being a distraction for your staff. I see this happen a lot where someone opens a second location and things aren't running right. So then it's like, okay, well, we got to take some of our core staff and send them to the new location, either full time or a couple nights a week. And so now you're pulling them out of your core location because they're some of your great staff and you're sending them away, but now we're pulling them away from where they are so they can, and it just creates issues when you would be better served by focusing on your current location and delivering an amazing product there and just simply doing that. Number 3 is it is a process. No matter how good you are, you're going to have to go through a growing process, especially if you are not a mega known name. And even then, you're still going to have a growing process because the only people that you're attracting are people who are not currently in the industry. And we are going to be making our bread and butter by getting class kids. So you're going to have to be marketing. You're going to have to be spending money on that. You're going to have to be growing your brand and growing awareness in that area. And I get it. The thing that got me down to Eugene was the fact that there were people telling me, oh my gosh, everyone wants you here. Okay. Yes, everyone that they were talking to who was a member of the gym that was closing wanted us to open a gym. 40 people is not everyone in the city of Eugene and Springfield, which combined has like hundreds of thousands of people living there. So that's certainly not everyone. And not everyone knew we existed, and not everyone knew we existed by the time that we decided to pass it off to some employees and allow them to start their own facility. It was an error. And it was really, really hard to build brand, build credibility, let people know that we were there, and expand our offerings. So if you were doing that, or that is the reason not to do it, is it's going to be a lot of work. And I have seen very smart gym owners go and do that. And again, you may be successful. I know gym owners who've opened second locations and within 2 years are positive. They're not negative in terms of their in the black. They're no longer in the red financially. And they still go, you know what? We're not going to keep doing this because it's going to be 3, 5, 6 years before we start seeing any significant returns on this investment. And I don't know that it's a good use of our time and my staff's time because it is pulling attention and pulling all those things away. So those are the 3 core reasons why I would not do it. The fourth one being it oftentimes can be a revenue suck for your current gym. You're going to end up pulling money out of that business to support the new business. The returns are going to take some significant time. Now, why would I open a second location, or what would be the criterion for me to look at to create a second location? Number 1, I would have to have someone who was one of my core staff, one of my people, someone who has been trained with me, who I know, who has learned the ins and outs, basically been a key driver of work at this location, who then is looking to start something of their own in another location. They want to move away and they want to start another version of the gym. I have all of the systems in place. This person has lived, operated, and executed on the systems. And that person is going down to start up this facility and going to be there. They're going to be and maybe they're going to be a part owner. Maybe they're just going to be the full-time manager, but it's someone who knows the ropes. Now, in that circumstance, I might actually give away equity for that just because I want that person to be committed. And if they're just a full-time manager, they're going to quit it like a job potentially, and an owner is less likely to do that. So I would want to have someone who is fully been trained in my facility. They know everything. They are the person. And I've built all the systems. They understand those systems. They've been trained on those systems. They've executed them. We have a solid business plan. We have a good market. So I'd want to do a good market analysis. And what I'm looking for in a good market is actually not a market that has no cheer. I actually don't want that. And I talked about it in previous episodes, but I don't want to have a place that has 0 cheerleading because it's actually harder for me to build credibility than if everyone knows what cheerleading is and a new cheer gym opens with maybe some brand recognition. When I put out marketing, when people see cheer and tumbling classes, they already know what cheerleading and tumbling is. And we're a lot more likely to get people registering than people I have to educate from the ground up on what it is that we do and what it is that we offer. So I actually like areas that have a little bit of cheerleading more so than I like areas that are just completely ghost towns for cheer. They have nothing going on. Maybe you have some other sports, but you have basically a vacuum of cheerleading. And you might see that as an opportunity. Well, there's nothing else offered. And it is, but it's going to be a lot slower build to get to that revenue. So I would want a person, the systems, and a correct market. Those would be the 3 things that I would want to make sure were in place. And that person would have to be aligning on how a gym is going to run, which a gym has to be built on being diverse programming. I would never, ever, ever open another gym that was just purely focused on All-Star. Ever. In fact, I would be more likely to open a second location that was fully focused on recreational tumbling and private lessons and stunting and no All-Star at all than I would be likely to open a gym that was All-Star only focused. Because I have seen time after time those recreational gyms be much more successful because lower barrier of entry, their pricing can still be decent where they can be profitable, but it isn't as crazy high as an elite kiddo. It's kind of a safe space. They can have a smaller space. They don't need quite as much area. You can do a lot with just one spring floor and a tumble track. So they have a little bit more flexibility, or even, 4 panels of floor in a tumble track. You can be you can do a lot of stuff, be pretty efficient, where with competitive cheer, it's a little bit harder. So I would want all of those things in place before I ever considered opening a second location. But generally speaking, I have no interest in opening a second location because I don't have all of those things perfectly set. And that, unless I had all of those, I would never do it again, because doing it was a distraction. It was miserable, and it wasn't miserable because of the people or anything else. The staff that we had, they worked their tails off. The parents that we had, for the most part, were fantastic. We got some really great kids. Some kids continued to cheer for us after we left Eugene. They drove from Eugene to Beaverton to cheer in our program. So there were great people involved, and even the people that didn't do that, there were great people involved. We didn't have the systems and the personnel in place to make it happen efficiently and effectively. And so it just became a big headache for everyone. And we didn't deliver the quality of service I wanted to deliver for those people. And it made my life hard. They weren't as satisfied. And that's just not what we wanted to do. So I would not do that again unless it was just the perfect scenario. And even then, I would go back to, is it a distraction? And it likely is. Until I have maximized everything I can possibly do at my gym, and I can't really do any more, they don't need me, that's when I can start looking at other opportunities and other new things to start. All right, everyone, that is my 2 cents on why I wouldn't open a second location and the rare circumstance in where I would. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I am a little tired. I just got back from Las Vegas. We had an amazing conference there, met some phenomenal gym owners, had some great discussion. We had some amazing vendors, which I do want to express the most heartfelt thanks to the sponsors that make it so those conferences can happen. We have some really amazing sponsors, and I don't want to name some, but not all, but I will say some of our longtime sponsors like Tumble Track. And I have to give a special thanks to them because they let me use their equipment for the tumbling class that I was doing. Like, they make so much more happen at that conference because they let us use their equipment. So I really appreciate it. Gymlawyers.com, Matt Becker, he's going to be coming back on the pod because there's some new legal updates coming out here that I think are really important to know that he presented on. Big thank you to him. We had a ton of other vendors there. New vendors was like, we had Cheers Sync, which is a super cool app. We had a new computer, like a video monitoring. We had iClass Pro. We had Jackrabbit. Like, I just am so appreciative of everyone who comes out there and sponsors our conferences so we can make those conferences happen at the rate that we do. So it was a blast. Everyone had a really good time in Vegas. I'm not tired because I went out and had a grand old time. I'm just tired because I taught and talked a whole bunch. Yeah, the break is over, you guys. We're back to it. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode.